getting to know you, getting to know all about you. Where does it come from?
King and I.
The King and I. So the first two verses, of the King and I say, it's a very ancient saying, but a true and honest thought, that if you become a teacher, by your pupils you'll be taught. As a teacher, I've been learning. You'll forgive me if I boast. And I've now become an expert on the subject I like most, getting to know you. So that is the first two verses. So what does it actually mean? Well, we have lots of different ways of saying hello in different languages. And one of the things that I say about this subject, one of the things that when I read those first two verses from the start of The King and I, most of you know me, I'm very musical. I love my singing. I'm part of a singing group. So you're very lucky I didn't actually just break into song and do the rest of the song for you. But I won't subject you to that today. But the phrase there that says that if you become a teacher, by your pupils you'll be taught. As a teacher, I've been learning. Well, who have I been learning from? Well, I've been learning from you guys. I've been learning from the people that are around me, learning from my network contacts, learning from everybody that I've got. And that's a great place to be in. And it's all about, how do I get to know you better? How do I start to develop my relationships with you and start to get to know you better? And Peter and Jill and a couple of others in the room will have to forgive me. This is one of a subject that I absolutely love talking about, but it is the language of behavioural styles. And we all talk about, and we can all understand different languages. We can all understand the basics of languages. And when you walk over into France and someone says, "Oh, bonjour, ça va? Comment ça va? Est-ce que vous avez passé une bonne journée aujourd'hui?" There might be a possibility that you could have a conversation back with them. But there might be the other possibility that you kind of go, "Oh, yeah, great, thanks. How are you?" Because we're not all speaking the same languages. So this is about the language of DISC and how we use DISC in our behavioural styles and in getting to know each other. So have you heard the phrase, there's a 2-second rule? Harvard Business School put out a survey that said within 2 seconds, we've all started to make a first impression on each other. And whether that's in a face-to-face networking or whether it's on a Zoom networking or however we are now communicating with each other and whatever we are doing, the same things are still happening. And we are all making an impression on each other as we come in. Your mother's golden rule was always to treat others as you want to be treated. If you want to have the door held open for you, you have to hold the door open for someone else. If you want to be nice, you have to be nice. And there was your mother's golden rule. But unfortunately, your mother's golden rule doesn't take it to the next level, which is the platinum rule. Because actually, if you treat others as you want to be treated, you are only treating 1/4 of the behavioural styles. So the platinum rule says, do unto others as they would like to have you do unto them, i.e. treat others as they want to be treated, not necessarily how you want to be treated. So it's about how do we adapt and how do we use our communication, our behavioural styles to adapt to each other to start to get to know each other better. So word of mouth is simply what people are saying about your products and service. And a great word of mouth plan would have an effective message delivered through your key contacts to your target markets. However, if you are speaking in a different language, the message that someone is hearing might be different as to what they pass on. So you have to make sure that when you are giving them the language, you are telling them what it is that you do, and that they are understanding you, that they are hearing it in the language that they want to hear, not how you want to present it. So it's all about making sure that we can adapt. So just by a show of hands on the screen, who has had a DISC profile, heard of DISC, or had any other behavioural style done? Oh, okay. There was only a few hands that went up there. I was kind of going, oh my God, that's really quite unusual, but more hands went up. Fantastic. So I talk about DISC when I talk about networking and referral marketing and word of mouth strategies. And one of the reasons that I do love it is that it is because it is so very simple and helps. It is a really great way that people can understand. So again, 4 quadrants, you are either fast-paced or you are more measured-paced. You are task or you are people. So if you're a D, you are fast in task. An I, you are fast in people. An S, you are people and more measured in your pace. And a C, you are more task and more measured in your pace. And when we come networking, when we walk into a networking event like this, we are walking into a room where there could be all 4 different behavioral styles appearing. And how you start to communicate and how you start to act will have an impact on your referability and how that relationship starts to be developed. So I'm going to just quickly go around a little bit of the characteristics of each of them and see if we can get a little bit of a flavour and see if that resonates with some of you and whether or not you've ever experienced this in a networking event. I ran a workshop last week for 35 people talking about this subject and did a workshop on this. And we had a lot of fun in the room, I have to say. There was some great content that was coming out and a lot of people were having some great light bulb moments as we went through. And what I really appreciated was that they were really open and honest about how they go networking and what it is they go networking for. So it was really great fun. So let's look at the Ds. Let's look at our fast-paced and task-orientated people. When they come networking, they're coming networking for a purpose. That you, Jill? You're here for a purpose. She wants to know what's happening. She's here. She wants to know how many people in the room, the caliber of the people in the room. She'll be well presented. Typically, they're kind of going, right, come on, tell me what we're going to talk about. Tell me how long it's going to be and tell me who's going to be in the room and how I can connect with you. As she did beautifully when she was talking about the business development and the Regenerate Your Business. Who else do you know? Who else do you know that you could be introducing me to? Here's the website. There's a contact form on there. Get on there. Get the link. This is how much it costs. This is how much you can join us. This is how you can join us. Really great. But, again, very direct. And for some other people, they'd be kind of going, oh, okay, that's fine. But I really need to know a little bit more about whether or not I can take this decision. I really need to know a little bit more about you before I can actually move in there. So D's in a networking event. I had a great story. Somebody told me once there was a networking event where they went and there was a high D who'd gone there and he never attended a networking event on their own. Now, Nicholas, is that not one of the things that we tell everyone? Never go networking alone. Always go with someone. Well, the person that he went with, unfortunately, was his PA because the poor lady just used to have to stand in the corner. And he was such a high D that if you approached him and said, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Who are you? And he told you and he'd find out who you were. He'd then say, right, yes, you, I want to speak to you. You're good for me. Go and see Mary in the corner, give her your details. She'll make an appointment for us and we'll get it in the diary. Move along. I've got somebody else I need to speak to now. I need to move on to the next person. And if you weren't the type of person that he wanted to speak to, you never got to go and speak to Mary. You never got to go and have a conversation with her. You were moved in the other direction. So, high Ds at their beautifulest at a networking event. So let's move on to our wonderful I's, our enthusiastic relationship people who are fast-paced but very people-orientated. These are the type of networkers and people when you come into a room that Peter has to keep muting. Oh, they're off again. Right, where's the mute button? Right, need to keep the mute on them because if we don't, chaos descends. Because they are the super excited. Oh my God, this is so amazing. I can't wait to talk about what we're going to talk about today. Oh my God, look, Julie's on the call today. Hey, Julie, haven't seen you for ages. So great to see you again. Oh, hi, Hannah, haven't seen you. Oh, hi, Dave. It's been such a long time. They are all over it. They're so high. They are there. We call them the Labrador puppies of networking. So when you see them, and this is what really drives eyes mad at the moment with Zoom networking, they can't hug anybody. There is no hugging going on through the computer. So it's really difficult to kind of go, oh my God, what can I do? So they're there. It's all about relationships with them when they're at a networking event. It's all about how do you build the relationship, who's in the room. You can tend to see they'll have lots of things going on. So the eye movements will be there. They'll be chatting at the same time. The chat messages will be going. They'll be waving at people across the screen. There'll be loads of things going on because they're looking at building those relationships and wanting to get to know everybody. So let's move down in the pace. We're still on the people side, but we're going to talk about our beautiful S's. So our S's are our dependable people. They're our sincere people. They are the best networkers for getting to know people. So if you want to do great referral relationship with anybody, you need to seek out all of our beautiful S style of behavioral styles, because they will be really making sure they get to know you. They're the ones that will be arranging the one-to-ones. They'll be making sure everybody's okay in the room. When you have the one-to-ones with them, they'll be really asking lots of questions. So they'll be making sure that they get to know you, but you'll kind of finish and go, oh, I didn't really get to know much about them. It seemed to be all about me. Isn't that great? But at the same time, you're kind of going, well, haven't really started to build a relationship with this person because they don't give much of themselves away. But if you get a referral from somebody who's a high S and that they have done their due diligence, you can be absolutely guaranteed and sure that they are putting the two of you together because they know the person and they know you. And they'll make sure that that match is a match made in heaven for you. And you had better make sure that you follow up on it and are appropriately representing yourself, because if you don't, you will be very hard pressed to get any more referrals in the future, because they will not like it if you let them down too much. So they are, again, the great hosts at networking event. They're the ones that are making sure people are comfortable. Have you got a tea and coffee? They'll be wanting to make sure, they'll be looking around and making sure everybody's comfortable. They'll notice if somebody's disappeared off the room. It's like, Peter, so-and-so's left. Do you want to make sure they're okay? Are they coming back yet? Because they need to make sure that everybody is looked after. And then coming round onto our C's, the task-orientated but more measured. So these are our competent networkers. They're very much on quality. They're very conscientious. So these are people, when they're out networking, we sometimes call them examiners. They'll stand at the side of the room and examine what's happening. They'll make sure they know who's in the room. They won't approach people. They'll kind of just be watching. They'll get a cup of tea and coffee. They'll walk away. These are the people that when you get emails from them about events, they ask, so what time's it starting? What time's it ending? Can you tell me who's going to be in the room, please? By the way, do you have a list of the delegates that are going to be there, just so I know who they are? Because I really need to make sure that I'm being efficient with my time. So I need to know that the people are in the room that I can start to sort of talk to. It will all be about quality with them. So it'll all be about facts and figures and information and quality detail. And they'll be, very much wanting to build a relationship based on that. And they'll be, you'll have to invite them into a conversation. They won't come forward for a conversation. They'll very much sit back on the conversation until they get to know you a lot better. But, if you ever want to know what's happening at a networking event, seek out the C in the room, because they'll be able to tell you. They'll have who's speaking next week. They'll have analysed Peter's last email that came out with who's speaking, what events are taking place. It'll all be in their diary. They'll have the Zoom call in their diary, not like high eyes who suddenly go, well, where was that email that I put that I'm supposed to be on in 2 minutes? What was I, where? So they'll have made sure that all of the information that they need is in the diary, and that they'll know what's coming up in the future with all of the detail. Which is why when we're communicating with them, you have to give them the information. You have to give them all of the information, how to join, where it's going to be held, who's speaking, and what time. Most importantly for the C's, motivated by when they can leave the meeting. So they don't like you overrunning. And if you make an appointment with a C, you must make sure, they'll know it's in the diary, but you must make sure that you've confirmed and followed up with them so that they feel comfortable with you and that they know that it's happening. So that is a quick whistle-stop tour of all of our different behavioural styles and a tiny little flavour of each one as to how we all network differently. And let's be frank, people, if we were all the same in a room and we all had the same behavioural style, it would be a rather boring place. So when you're out and about at your next networking event and you're on Zoom, just have a quick look. Let's just make sure that you listen and observe the room. work the room and actually see what behavioural styles are coming out. Who are the ones that are chatty and over-exuberant? Who are the ones that are asking all the questions? Who are the ones that are wanting to make sure they've got the one-to-ones and follow-ups in the diary before they leave, must have that meeting with you, do not leave this meeting before we actually sign off and I have that meeting with you. All of these signs are happening all around us as we are networking, and it is our responsibility to understand who we are and then start to pick up a flavour of who's in the room so that we can adapt our own style, so that we can start to get to know them better. We can start to look and see and build those referral relationships with them. And it's all about just getting to know you, getting to know all about you. So that is me. Thank you for listening. Jenni Henderson.